Take this job and shove it.
You're listening to Jobcast Radio. I am Mike Baumgartner, your Work-Life Survival Sage and the Chief Executive Officer of the Work-Life Survival Center. My number, 304-867-4142. Again, 304-867-4142. If you need help, advice, and you don't have to be on the show, I get it. I get calls a lot that we just don't put on the show. Why? Because they say, I don't want my boss to hear my voice. I'm afraid of what the company's going to do. I understand that. But that doesn't mean I don't want to help you. So if you need help on your resume, you got a boss that is just a jerk, you're being sexually harassed, you've been threatened, something is going funky, give me a shout or shoot me an email, mike@jobcastradio.com. Again, check out my website. I am on Twitter, Jobcast Radio. Thank you to the 2,000 plus of you who are following me. And also, I have a fan page on Facebook. Go ahead and follow what's going on with the show, because even if we were at 2% unemployment, you need advice. You need help, because let's face it, there's nobody out there helping you that isn't trying to charge you something. And I'm not. Well, take it for what it's worth. That's what it is. So, also, we were talking about in the first segment of the show that our unemployment rate was at 8.8%. Good news. There are some caveats that it may not be great news as everybody starts jumping back into the workplace. Also, a quick caveat on that. Yes, I mean, people are hiring, but honestly, at the rate that it's going, if we were to continue to fill jobs at the rate of about $216,000 a year, 216,000 jobs a month, it would take 8 years to get back to what we call full employment, which is around 4%, 5%. So just kind of measure that in expectations that, it takes 100,000 jobs a month just to keep pace with jobs that just disappear and then come back and just deal with people who are going through. So remember, those numbers have to get higher. We're hoping for them. We're praying for them. But again, no guarantees that that's going to be happening any time soon. So be aware of that. Another thing that is beginning to happen, as people begin to look for work, people are getting a lot more, what do you want to say? You're willing to take a job, you want to take a job, but you're not exactly sure where, candidly. And one of the things that I have noticed and certainly with the gas prices that are going up, and right now where I'm at, here in the Grand Mountains of Charleston, West Virginia right now, gas prices are around $3.60, $3.70 a gallon. In California, I think they're over $4 at this time. It's all over the map, certainly depending on where you live. But that takes a huge chunk out of things. And it will take a huge chunk out of your commute, especially if you have a long commute. And unfortunately, because of the economy, because of the difficult job market, people have discovered that you may have to drive a little bit farther to get to a job that you want to work. And that has created a lot more people than we had 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago of people who are doing what we call extreme commuters. Now, I know this specifically because I remember a time in my life when I was living in California. I lived in a place called Lake Elsinore, which is near Temecula, if that means anything to you, my California listeners. And I had to commute to Pasadena. Now, that was about a 74-mile trip one way, which in California driving time, normally, in Florida, I could do 74 miles probably in about an hour and a half. About that. Here in West Virginia, I could, doing 60 or 70 on the freeway when it allows is an easy thing to do. In commuting in California, going over and back, it was a 2.5-hour commute each way. And I know that a lot of you at this point have to do the same thing. And what are you going to do? You need to find a job, and you can't necessarily find a job that's right around the corner. In fact, your job may used to have been, 5 minutes away, but then you lost your job and you had to find a job. And as you search for your job, that range of where that job is gets a little bit farther and a little bit farther and a little bit farther. And as gas prices go up, your daily, weekly, and monthly and yearly commute is going to get more and more expensive. We're up over $1 a gallon than we were this time last year. That is a lot. That is a lot. I mean, if you've got a 15-gallon tank of gas, that's $15 more per tank of gas. And if you're doing 2 or 3 of them a week, depending on what you're driving, that could be another $60, $70, $80 a week. A week. If you're driving, of course, one of those massive, tanker F-150 gas guzzling monsters. Or it might just be a month, $80, whatever it is. Do the math on that. Think that through. If I'm adding $15 a tank and I'm doing 3 tanks on an economy car because I'm doing 140 miles a day, $45. Easy. $45 a week times 4. Do the math. Times your year. Do the math. That's going to hit your budget. So what are you going to do with that? Well, there are some things you can do, obviously, and the advice is simple. You can see if you can identify somebody that you can commute with. Can you carpool with somebody? Discover, sometimes if you leave a half hour earlier or a half hour later, the traffic is a lot less. You just have to time the traffic. Going over, coming back. You have to figure out which way that does that. One of the biggest things that gets impacted by this, I kid you not, when you have this kind of a commute, is your health. Why? Because you're getting up earlier, you're getting home later, so you're not getting as much rest. And what are you doing when you're in the car? You're eating. You eat your breakfast in the car. Sometimes you eat your dinner in your car. So that is usually, that kind of food is not exactly the healthiest food that you can get. But look, I used to, when I did this commute, I would leave my work at 6:30. I'd get home at 8 o'clock at night. I'm not cooking dinner. I'm grabbing it in a drive-through, or I'm cooking a frozen POS dinner, and it is what it is. And you end up gaining weight, and you get sick, and then you start missing work, and it impacts you, and it snowballs. So those of you with long commutes, find people that you can ride with. If you can, move a little bit closer, and we'll talk a little bit about that, because moving for a job, even if it's just killing 30 miles off your commute, could save you a heck of a lot of money. Now, you have to factor in what that moving cost is going to be. Right now, people are beginning to wonder, if I can't find a job, look, if I'm in California where the unemployment rate is 12%, or Nevada where the unemployment rate is huge, should I move out or should I move in? And you need to think that through. So if you're in an area that has a high unemployment rate, or you're thinking about moving to a place where you might find a better job, you need to do a little bit of extra research. So think this through. Why is the unemployment rate in certain areas higher than others? So before you move, you need to identify where that unemployment is. Think this through, those of you who want to move. If I wanted to move to Nevada, I would have to seriously think about it, because it's huge. It's an incredibly high unemployment rate because the housing market has crashed. But if I happen to be, for example, a mortgage foreclosure expert, oh yeah, I want to move into that neighborhood. If I am specializing in real estate, if I'm a real estate person selling real estate, maybe not. So take a look at where you are and where you're going to move, and factor in what it's going to cost you, because I'm telling you right now, companies, because everybody's getting back in the market, are going to be a lot less willing to pay for relocation. Used to be when the market was tight, when it was 5%, the company would buy your house, they would move you, they'd give you the money to sell your house, to get yourself a new house. They don't do that anymore unless you're really, really impressive and you're applying for a job that is pretty expensive, or you're moving to some place where, frankly, nobody wants to move to. So if you're thinking about moving or you have a long commute, you need to sit down with a pencil and a paper and start figuring out your finances. You got to begin to do the numbers, because it's a really, really tough market out there. Need help on relocation? I've been through lots of them. I got plenty of advice on that. Need help on a commute? Done that as well. Just give me a shout. Again, my number, 304-867-4142. 304-867-4142. You can also Skype me, Jobcast Radio. You can also shoot me an email, mike@jobcastradio.com. Check out my website, lots and lots of information. And again, Twitter and Facebook, I'm there as well. If you like my article, spread it around. We're just here for you. I am Mike Baumgartner, your Work-Life Sage. Jobcast Radio. We'll see you after we pay the bills. Bye-bye.
Take this job and shut it.